Hi, so this is the third video in the series which support this book, The Easy Way to Learn Astrology. You can get the book from any bookstore, Amazon, sell it if you want to. Together with this video, the videos are all free to access, no subscription or anything. Together with the book, and also when you register with astro.com, you've got a package of 3 which will hopefully give you a foothold into astrology by just learning one of the aspects of astrology. There are many astrologies, and you'd be learning how to read your birth chart using the zodiac signs and the houses of astrology. Once you've done that, you can then get on with the rest because you've got the basics, and often getting a foothold and getting the basics is the hardest thing to do. Okay, so we are now going to, on this video, look at the element of fire and the 3 zodiac signs that come out of fire. So there's 3 layers of fire. Each is called a zodiac sign. The lowest one is Aries, the middle one is Leo, and then the higher one is Sagittarius. We're going to look at the element of fire overall to start with, and I'll just look a brief snapshot of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Okay, right, so we better begin. So the first thing we need to remember about fire is that it is a masculine element, and it comes out of the masculine polarity. Its brother, if you like, element is air. So we've got fire and air, they're both masculine, and then water and earth are the feminine ones. We're looking at fire first, and I think that's appropriate because after all, it wants to be first. It bursts out. Fire is full of enthusiasm. And anyway, so I've got some notes here which I might use or I might not, but we'll see. Attention and belief, I think, are 2 of the critical themes of fire. It's pure energy. And I think we can get a really good impression of fire if we think about a baby looking at fire. Have you ever seen a newborn baby when it sees fire for the first time? Its eyes go like saucers and it just stares and it's like, oh, completely mesmerized. And I think that is a clue really to how fire impacts our lives. It's very colourful, it's very dramatic, it lights up the dark, which is very useful. The sun is a fire planet. We call everything planets in astrology. So fire can't be easily contained, and it's extremely volatile and unpredictable. It's sort of hot, outgoing, hot-blooded. And if you think about a fire in a grate, right, the flames are beautiful, aren't they? Or think about a campfire. So the people around the campfire in the darkness will be talking to each other, socializing, but they won't be looking at each other. They'll all be looking into the fire as they speak. That fire grabs attention. And the fire in the grate doesn't ask, oh, which piece of coal shall I burn next? It's not at all timid. It just burns the lot. Everything you put on there, the fire just voraciously accepts. So fire and its associated 3 forms of the zodiac signs is full of life, force, and spirit. Now, we need to just understand that life force and spirit don't just exist in our universe and in our dimension. This element also exists in a form on the other side, in the multi-dimensions or the multiverses. And it has a spiritual form, which the scientists, quantum physics, if you like, has identified as dark energy and dark matter. Dark matter is the water element. Dark energy is probably the fire part. So on the other side, there is, as far as I'm concerned, a great presence of fire, which doesn't have form. We do have do have fire as form here on Earth. We can see it, those flames. We can't touch it, we can see it. But we also have an invisible fire spirit that underpins our universe. Also, in the multiverse, in the other dimension, on the other side, whichever you believe, there is also a presence of fire, and it is invisible. It is a source of energy. It is a source of spontaneous bursting into life. And it is also where deity lives. It's where the gods live. Fire is deity. And there's all that arrogance in deities. If we look into mythology, but let's go for the Olympus. Let's go for the gods of Olympus, the Greek mythology. And there we see Zeus, a fire presence. Oh my goodness, you know, all that enthusiasm, the shouting, the charisma, the thunderbolts, the imperiousness, the leadership. This is a fiery person or a fiery god, fiery deity. But deity in general lives in fire. And fire needs attention. Now, when I say needs, it's not a craving, although it does crave attention. It needs it to live. Spirit requires our attention and belief to exist. So by giving fire this attention that it actively seeks, it looks so attractive. When we give it attention, we are growing it. It is growing because of our attention. Now, we can see this in the fire signs, and we will do. But first of all, I want you to understand about fire, spirit energy. So there is spirit on the other side. So it's like a great spirit place. When we are born, soul and spirit are merged into us with earth, our body. So our body, the earth, spirit's inside, soul, which is water, is also inside. And then we have mind, which is a connection to a higher intelligence. And that is the air. So the air element, okay? So the fire in us is our inner deity, our inner gods, if you like, and it's our connection to those other gods on the outside. There is a dialogue which goes between the fire within us, the fire of our universe, the fire of the cosmos, the multiverse. Okay. Okay, so when we understand that, we can understand just how powerful fire is, how it works magically sometimes, gives us a sense sometimes of deja vu, not deja vu, sorry, precognition. Deja vu is probably water, but if it's about the future, precognition, then it's fire that is inspiring that. Now, fire is very quick and speedy. It doesn't wait for anything. It burns stuff up and rushes straight in. If you watch a fire sign going shopping, right? So Aries, somebody who's very Arian, somebody who's very Leo, somebody who's very Sagittarius, and you're going shopping with them. Well, first of all, I have sympathy for you. But the second is, watch how they just go through the shop like lightning, right? Don't stop and go, oh, I think so. Shall I try it on? Da, 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 da. They go through going, yeah, okay, I'll have that. And then walk straight up to the till. Don't you try it on? Don't you at least want to find a mirror and look at yourself in it? No, fire assumes it looks fabulous in everything. But more than that, it's too much faff and detail. It just wants to grab something. It knows in an instant what it wants. And that's it. There's no changing its mind. That looks great. Yeah, I'm going to have that. And then the detail of will it fit? Fire is very irritated when clothes don't fit. And if I were to say to fire, well, if you tried them on in the changing rooms, then maybe, you could take home something that fits. Fire doesn't listen to criticism, doesn't want advice, no chance. It's the fault of the shirt or the fault of the skirt or the trousers. The damn thing doesn't fit, as if it's that fault. you know, not fire that wouldn't take the time to go and try something on, no patience at all. But there we go. It's all about gut reaction. It's all about, that looks great, I'm having it. Oh, that's it. And that's the way fire thinks. But I think we ought to, listen to me, I think we ought to not think in terms of fire thinking, because it doesn't think, it just does. It just grabs and it's spontaneous. And that kind of speed comes from the gut. It comes from this gut gnosis. I know I'm right, and nothing else is going to change my mind or can tell me that I'm wrong. So if you know somebody who's very fiery, has lots of fire sign in them, then you'll understand this thing I'm about to say to you. Everything they say is right. Nothing is wrong with what they say, and that's the way it is, I'm afraid. They're right, you're wrong. You'll know what I mean. I was very interested, actually, when I saw a study a psychological study that went off in America with a group of fire men. Now, strangely, and I think this is true from just my small and limited ability to research it, firemen tend to be driven by water signs or fire signs, right? It's just the way it is. And fire occurs quite a lot in firemen, which makes me think that's strange, because it's almost like they love the fire. Why are they putting it out? Well, they love fire anyway. So let's say we get in firemen, let's say we get a lot of fire signs. So in America, there was a group of psychologists were employed to help write a training book for a fire department. And so what they needed to know was how the chief fireman instinctively and immediately deployed the crew without even thinking about it. So they would leap out of the fire engine at the scene of the fire, and instinctively the boss was going, right, Fred, you're there, you're there, you're there, you're here, you're there, and that's it. So those wanting to write all this wisdom into a book were saying, well, okay, tell us the process you went through so that we can train that on into everybody else. Well, there was the thing. The fire chiefs were unable to explain it. I don't know. I just don't know. I just do what I know to be right. But worse than that, when they really started to analyze it, that's the fire sign themselves. So the fire chief starts to analyze because he's being asked. It slows him down. Suddenly there was doubt. And the fire chief, unless he could work instinctively and go, snap, Bill, you're doing this, Ben, you're doing that. The fire chief, if he suddenly had to stop and think about it, couldn't be confident, couldn't do it instinctively, couldn't do it. It's they have to work from the gut. It has to be in a fire way, has to be instant, or they can't do it. They start to second guess themselves. If you slow them down, they go, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And they become a little bit indecisive. And this is not, of course, what a fire chief needs to do. The psychologists, however, took all this back and they adopted a phrase called verbal overshadowing. And it explains this phenomena. The mind and analysis are a separate function to gut intuition. Fire has a special intuition which is uncanny. It doesn't stop to ask which piece of coal shall I burn next. Fire knows that everything is possible, and it knows, and that's it. There's a huge vision, and that's it. So verbal overshadowing is what happens when the fire sign suddenly has to explain themselves. It's like the mind has taken over the gut reaction and is starting to analyze. As soon as that happens, the gut closes down, fire closes down. it isn't able to function. So I think that's a really important thing for us to remember in astrology. Fire has this gut reaction, and if questioned, will lose its ability. Air is a different masculine element, and air uses the brain. I think fire uses the second brain. I think there's another brain in the gut, and I think fire uses that one. But anyway, okay. Fire signs and fire has vision for endless possibilities, limitless possibilities. It's infinite. And so they can't stand containment. They can't stand rules, boundaries, being told what to do. Fire says, I know I'm right. I know what is right. What I want is right. And that's it. You can't argue with it. Well, if you do, you're going to reduce its confidence, and eventually you'll be seen as a nag or somebody that doesn't appreciate fire's special gifts, and the fire people will start to separate them from yourself, because they don't want to be constantly told they're not the magnificent thing they think they are always right. Fire likes great opportunities. It wants to explore, to challenge, to burn things up, and it wants doors to go through. And it has a contagious enthusiasm. So it's the fire in all of us that keeps us enthusiastic, keeps us full of hope, keeps us thinking there's tomorrow. There's we can get this better. Fire exaggerates everything. And dramatizes everything. So it colors stories. So fire people, when they're telling stories, you could usually half or double what they're saying. And it's always exaggerated or totally, it's repressed. They love to brighten up the world. The world is drab, it's boring, it's full of earthy people with their eyes down to the ground. Fire wants to get up, look upwards, and take the inspiration from the sun and from light and from energy and warmth and heat. So they can't stand being held in confinement. Now, fire signs can be very insensitive because of all this, right? So they can just trample on your feet and they really don't notice. They don't, because they're just busy rushing off. And it's not like they want to hurt you. In fact, if they thought they had hurt you, they'd be quite upset. But they haven't noticed. So it can be, you have to have a special kind of buffering system to stop the fire people from sort of like making you think, I beg your pardon, what? You just go, oh, okay, it's a fire person. It's okay, it's okay. Anyway, they're very self-centered, as in centered to the self. And the divine part of them, which the divinity being in fire, it says, you can't question me. This is spirit. I'm the king. Yeah, so attention, that kind of thing, it's all absolutely critical. I must say, fire is opposite to earth. No good with bodies, no good with sickness. They could never be nurses. If you know somebody who has got lots of fire in their chart and they say they're going to be a nurse, I suggest they do something else, because unless they're the boss, the leader, and walking straight into the job, first of all, they can't stand being told anything. But secondly, it's dealing with bodies, and they're like, yuck. Bodies are not something that fire wants to be in, because after all, it's limiting. When fire is sort of put into a body at birth, it has a problem with that body. It's almost saying, ew, what's this horrible, wet, heavy thing that I have to have around me? This is true. A really big fire sign said this to me. Oh, for years I'm wet. I've got this horrible, wet, very heavy thing hanging me down. Seriously. So they get impatient with the body, and they get impatient with limitations and old age. It is fire signs that quite often have adornments like tattoos or piercings, It's as if they want to change the body. It's not good enough. Let's make it a bit brighter. Get some creativity going here. Right, so Aries, lower fire sign. So we have to understand that these are stacked up as if it is the growth of a human being. So the bottom one is quite childish, babyish, and then the middle one is sort of like an adolescent, and then the top one is when you've reached your peak. Let's put it like that. So Aries, as the bottom fire sign, the first fire sign, is very self-centered, and has to be so, because otherwise, how could Aries initiate life, which is what it does? So, in order to be an initiator, in order to be instigate and to enthuse, Aries has got to be quite self-centered. It's not good, otherwise it'll just listen to everybody else going, "Ooh, you shouldn't be doing that," and then Aries wouldn't do it. So Aries just ignores it. Poof, go. So it bursts into life, very good at sport. They should definitely do sport. They should definitely be involved with sport. That's where they should be. Or they should be the head of a corporate conglomerate or something, the head of industry, the head of the bank, the head of whatever. They should be self-employed. It's very, it's difficult to think of Aries being employed. It's a sad thing, really. So Aries rules the head, and Aries that isn't being used in a very creative way, Aries that doesn't have a good channel, a place to get out of the body to be used, usually through activity. Aries likes to get into the muscles and get the muscles working. If Aries isn't able to do that, then it reroutes and it goes into the head, which it rules, and causes migraines, headaches, that kind of thing. So if you're an Aries, or you have lots of Aries in you, an Arian, then what you should be doing is making sure you get plenty of exercise. In fact, I would say, pretend you have a racket in your right hand. And let's say that this racket is a replacement for a sword, right? It's this slashing that takes Aries back to the age of chivalry. Knights in shining armor, fighting, protecting people, saving damsels in distress. This is all necessary, right, for Aries. And so the way for you to have the right energy in your life, or the right exercise in your life, is to play games where you have a racket in your hand as if it were a sword. So straight away, badminton, squash, tennis, table tennis. This is the right way to use your energy. Then you won't get the headaches, and then you won't get the conflict that you get with others. If you don't use up the Aries energy, it sort of attracts conflict. So that's Aries. Now you're going to read Aries in the book, so there's loads more there. Leo, you'll see, is the middle sign. All the middle signs are the most painful, and Leo is the most painful of all, I think. Poor Leo, there to be the king of the jungle, to have all the children admire it. Leo's got all the pride and all the sensitivity, so it really wants people to admire it. It wants to the center stage, be king of the jungle. And unfortunately, if Leo can't get that, then Leo almost becomes like a pricked balloon, just collapses. All the lights go out, everything is turned down, and it really operates on whatever's left in the birth chart after that. It can't bring its Leo up and use it in the service of that life because it feels condemned. And it feels embarrassed, and it feels the dislike of the people around, and it feels humiliation, and it can't stand that. So it has a painful beginning, especially at school or with siblings, because Leo wants to get on the stage and all the other children won't let it. It's not allowed to be the king of the castle. The other kids want to fight that one. So Leo has a very painful beginning, and this is very sad for Leo because Leo has a heart as big as a bucket, is very generous and very happy to give everybody else praise. It wants some back though, and it wants the stage. And so there are all kinds of sad stories as to why this doesn't occur. So have some sympathy for those people you know with Leo. Okay, again, in the book, you'll find lots more and some self-help things for Leo. I mean, particularly mirrors. Leos love mirrors, but a Leo that's been knocked down and has gone into retreat and has turned out the lights probably doesn't want any mirrors at all, because it can't be its usual, I am gorgeous, I am so glamorous, where's the mirror? Oh, yes, oh, I'm so great. It can't do that. And so it's sort of very sad. But a Leo that can look in a mirror, oh, that's nice. So have lots of mirrors around. If you've got loads in Leo, have lots of mirrors. Make a point of standing in front of them and saying, you're gorgeous, you're fabulous, you're amazing. Because if you can give yourself lots of love, if you can give yourself lots of praise, then it'll help. It will help. I call it red love, Leo love, red love, fire love, red. Okay. And Leo is more the interpersonal one as well. So Leo's great with one-to-ones, as long as it's on the pedestal and the other person pays homage. Okay, there's more in the book. No, I'll just finish off with Sagittarius, otherwise this video is going to be too long. So Sagittarius, by now the fire has matured into something so confident and so godlike and so divine that Sagittarius really, really epitomizes everything about fire that says, you can't tell me anything. I am not listening to anything you say, only what I say counts. That is literally how it is with Sagittarius. They don't listen. Even if they appear to listen, all they're doing is looking at you and waiting for a gap so that they can talk. They're not registering what you're saying. It's not going in. There's a lovely little comic thing somewhere that shows this woman sort of nagging away at her husband. And so he says, what do you mean goes in one ear? It doesn't even go in one ear. So, we're saying, whatever I say goes in one ear and out the other. He said it doesn't even go in one ear. This is Sagittarius. It doesn't even take it on in the first place. It actually just doesn't hear anything else or anybody else. It is so absolutely sure and so confident that it can walk on water. And that's the end of that one. Sagittarius is can be very generous, but has a strange thing about Sagittarius. It's generous with large amounts and then really nitpicking with small amounts. So Sagittarius will spend £10,000 on a holiday. Yay, generous, let's go, holiday, woo, let's have the best. And then won't buy any insurance for the holiday. I'm not spending that on insurance. So it doesn't have any. And you think, yeah, but it only costs £200. The rest of the holiday costs 10,000. What can't you spend the extra 200? The extra 200. No, just small quirky things like that. Cars, oh dear, driving in general, they're all a bit fast. In fact, yeah. But check out before you get in the car with them. Just think about this. Do you mind going fast? Or having road rage. Oh dear me. Anyway, very generous, very magnanimous, lovely people, but can be very irritating. I've just upset all the fire signs. That's fine actually, because I tell you what, I bet there's hardly anybody here with a load of fire energy. I bet most of the people watching this are air signs, though people with lots of air signs. Oh, lots of water, let's say, maybe. There we go. I'm going to stop there, literally because of the length of the video. And it's I hope that's been useful. And do write comments and stuff in the comment box down below, because It's nice to know that somebody listened. And I'd like to thank you very much and see you for number 4. There we go. I'll say goodbye now. Okay, bye.